try to make this kind of quick, but obviously at this point we've all kind of seen the videos, of the instructor Zero doing stuff with the bands. There's been other videos and other pictures of like some training groups, some of the naval special warfare related groups doing similar things. And so, and I wouldn't honestly care that much to like add my 2 cents into this, but I'm fortunate in that my shooting related circles and my grappling, fighting, wrestling related circles like have some overlap and some people from each that are interested in the other, which is good. But it also means that I kind of get questions from people who are interested, but maybe not quote unquote as plugged in as I am on some of that stuff. So I'll kind of revert back to some of my college strength conditioning coach days, which are days long past now. But a couple of the main problems that you have with this, the easy one is that, when it comes to having, like what you've seen with people is like they'll have a band attached to the muzzle and either attached to the foot so that the tension is having to drive up and out, or a band like attached maybe like across the hand or something around that extent, so you're having to like the tension is going to be pushing out on the gun. And the obvious answer as to why that is bad is that, one, you're essentially creating tension in all the places that we tell you as a shooter not to have tension. We tell you relax your neck, relax your traps, relax your shoulders, relax your back, basically relax everything except essentially your support hand, for the most part. And I say that as someone like who struggles with tension. I spend as many or more days wrestling and grappling as I do shooting. And I don't know if this is an excuse or an explanation, but like I struggle with tension. I don't think you can do what I do on the mats and then go shoot and be like, all right, cool. I know you spend all of your time, 100% of the time under tension there. Just shut off all that tension and be relaxed now. And it definitely affects some of the things that I do and some of the ways that, I either grip the gun or, kind of move the gun. And it's certainly noticeable. I have to build some cues into my own shooting to kind of counteract some of those things. So that's kind of one component of it is it builds tension in all the places we don't want to build tension. Kind of the second thing is, what gets brought up a lot is, well, what do you think about, you're training the grip and the strength? And I think the grip strength side of things gets too much attention. I don't really think it's that important. I think it's basically entirely all about the grip application. Yes, you can't have the grip of, a third grade girl or something like that, but it's not about the pure crushing power. It's about the application of the grip. And there's not even a complete consensus on what the application of the grip should be. You're going to find, some different opinions amongst high-level shooters on that. So, it's more about just finding a way that works for you amongst those kind of like, professional opinions that lets you like actually influence the gun correctly. And kind of the last component, this is where I'll kind of reach back on my strength conditioning coach days, is when it comes to, kind of the idea of training with resistance on specific movements. I mean, yes, you can say there's like a SPP, so like, specific physical preparation is a thing that we talk about. But one of the kind of absolute things that we know is that when it comes to adding resistance to specific movements, it's basically only beneficial or only potentially beneficial up until the point where it starts to affect the actual movement. And what I mean is, so for example, let's say I'm working with somebody doing like sprinting, basic stuff, and you got them dragging a sled behind them doing like weighted sprints. Okay, like you'll see I've seen like, some high-level wide receivers or some people doing stuff like that. You can only put a very, very small amount of weight on there, because as soon as you start to increase the weight and you in any way affect that runner's stride or his running position or his arm action or his hip action, detrimental immediately. Same basic thing you can apply when it comes to, using the gun. It's like, okay, you could make some sort of case potentially for resistance if it was somebody who was really weak and basically was just having trouble being able to like, keep the gun up, through like a long stage. Maybe it's like 3-gun or something where they've got the gun in their hand for like a long time, but only up until the point where it affects the movement quality, the grip quality or whatever, which would be at a very low threshold. And what I would say the obvious answer to that is, you're not really looking to build up strength. You're just looking to kind of build up a little bit of muscular endurance. So I would say when you're doing dry fire, like I do this myself, is have a loaded magazine in the gun. And it's loaded with dummies, obviously, but like have a loaded magazine in the gun so that the gun weighs as much as it would weigh when you take it out of the holster during a stage or when you take it out on a real life event or whatever. So the gun is a little bit heavier, so you're getting a little bit of repetitions, under that. But that's about it. Like as soon as you start, if you were going to, like this is a Shadow 2, this is my competition gun. I think it was 54 ounces, maybe 56 ounces, hit nationals with an empty mag last year. This is about almost like as heavy as you can legally have it be. And it's a heavy gun, but like the idea that like I would somehow make any sort of shooting improvements if I like took an empty mag, filled it with lead or filled it with like cement and put it in here to make it heavier. Like, I don't know what you think that you would positively affect if we just think through this logically. It's already a heavy gun and they're I don't feel any of this, but there are definitely people who complain that on like short, hosey stuff, it's too hard to move the gun around because it's kind of a big pig. So if you think you're going to make this heavier, and now it's harder to move, so now it's going to be harder to transition, but now that it's harder to transition, it's going to be harder to stop during the transition. So all that stuff is going to negatively affect the rep quality, and it's going to mimic something that doesn't happen when you actually have the gun out using it. So just kind of some ways to sort of think about that and see if you guys find that helpful.